Well, I will try to get on to music very quickly. What I'm going to present emerged a few years ago from a conference on stages. It was held in Cave Hill, and I thought that what I'd do was to look at what was happening in Calypso in Trinidad between Valentino's Life as a Stage, 1971, I think, and Sugar Aloes' This Stage Is Mine, which was part of his confrontation with Mr. Pandey and his government. And I thought that I'd first have to describe the stage as I saw it in Trinidad. And it seemed to me that the carnival stage was a fitting metaphor, that immense stage in which you can have 5 or 6 different things going on at the same time. A big band going off, another big band about to come on, a clown here, a bat, a midnight robber, or whatever, all taking place at the same time. I felt that the society was very much like this, that we were on a number of stages or spaces within the grand stage. These spaces overlapped, and I began to work on the metaphor, describing the stage. Who are the actors on our stage, and what are their different scripts? I have politicians, first of all. I have ethnic groups or self-styled spokespersons for ethnic groups. I have religious groups, many of those. I have the media, print and electronic, and along with the media, political columnists, satirical columnists sometimes. I have Calypsonians, of course. In a sense, Calypso is its own stage, but it's a stage on which all the other stages somehow meet. I have comedians, caricaturists, cartoonists. I have advertising agencies employed by political parties to enhance the PR element of their campaigns and to produce negative profiles of their opponents. I have contributors to call-in programs, many of whom develop particular personae, like characters on a stage. I have students and faculty of the University of Woodford Square. I have chutney and pitchickery singers, masqueraders, soothsayers, psychics. All of these are involved in our politics, our social life, our multiple confrontations. Each category of performers has its hardcore of actors. There are divisions within each category. There's a tendency for performers on one portion of the stage to believe that the entire stage belongs to them. So there is constant statement and restatement of the terms of occupancy of the stage. Endless polemic that seeks not so much to clarify the terms of legitimacy as to deny legitimacy and voice to competing authors. There are true actors, true partisans, and a host of mocking pretenders. So the stage is a place of contestation on which one asserts and defends aggressively one's sole and paramount right to be there. But since virtually everybody is a potential performer, it is generally impossible for any single actor or category of actors to assert his or their right to sole occupancy of the stage. So there is not only constant and mainly verbal contestation and confrontation, but constant and considerable transgression of actors into what their rivals would term forbidden space. So you are juxtaposed to each other, and although you are saying that this is my space, there is always overlap. And where there is overlap and transgression, there is also bruising at these frontiers, these edges. The sacred transgresses into secular space with gospelism, with carnivalesque marches for Jesus. I don't know why they have to march for Jesus. Anyhow, with marches for Jesus, with kinetic soca and hip-hop inspired performance in deliverance temples. This Kirk Franklin and his impact on that style. Similarly, secular transgresses into sacred space with calypso such as Rudder's High Mass, and you can think of the controversy over that, or Peter Minshall's Alleluia, or earlier than these, Super Blues Soca Baptist, or Machel Montano's Harry Ram. Each act of transgression generates considerable debate and quarreling. And quarreling is part of what we do. It's part of our text, part of our dialogue. And there is a running discourse about whose religion is better, more moral, more spiritual, more or less demonic, more in control of a more effective obia than whose. There is a considerable obia of politics. In fact, there's a whole obia theater, which for some is more real than the politics that is visible on the surface of things. Just the last elections and this X and the X Calypso and the X Dance, those of you who were here would recognize that that was obia taking place. The hexing of the devil, the barring of the devil. And that it was extremely powerful. The clearest manifestation of this, though, the obia of politics, came between 1989 and 1991 and 92 with the saga of the dragon and the dove, who had pulled down the dove from the Red House and put up a dragon. And this started in Calypso, actually. This started in a Shagalo's Calypso. But there have been many other manifestations of the histrionics of obia on TNT's political stage. The lingam and the jandi, for example. The jandis that were planted in front of the former Prime Minister's residence, and the need for the new Prime Minister, the then new Prime Minister, to remove those jandis before he could function. And of course, later on, the building of the temple or whatever it is was being built. So you have that kind of thing taking place. Or Baptists walking around the Woodford Square with candles in support of Mr. Chambers and saying not a damn seat for them. And that gets into Calypso as well. Kitchener's not a damn seat for them. Lives and performances spill over constantly from one area of the stage into another. Thus, everybody's sacred space is invaded, and every batonier, every stick fighter, every midnight robber is perpetually on guard against the imminent intrusion of some mocking pretender or other. Thus, the political parties are on guard against the possibility that their members might, if the price is right, frog hop, ship jump, shrimp skip, or somersault into a rival party. This was written long ago, you know. It wasn't written yesterday. It has happened with ordinary supporters, and it has happened with members of local government councils and MPs. It has since the mid-80s been a very unstable political stage. Chogda sings Too Much Parties, and Crow Crow sang a calypso called Look How Man Does Change to try to understand this phenomenon. People who move between 3 and 4 parties in 5 or 6 years. The whole racial scene too can be examined with this metaphor. Now, I don't want to go into that right now. Calypso is almost its own stage, within the larger stage. Virtually all the transgressions, contestations, quarrels, and debates find their way somehow on the calypso stage. The racial quarrels, they are centrally there. Calypso itself contributing constantly to the steadily burning fire. Notable controversies: Black Stallions, what is called Caribbean Man, he called it Caribbean Unity, 1979, almost months of controversy. I think Ramesh Diosaran measured the column inches. Corruption in Common Entrance by Crow Crow in 1987. Bottom on the Road, Ivor George's Road March in 1990. These things generate more controversies than most political issues, because in a certain sense they are political issues themselves. The political masquerade, with its frog hopping, its robber talk, its abuse, its rough comedy, its caricature, its constant role-playing, role exchange, its creation of masks, smoke screens to conceal the real play. Calypso gnaws at the edges and is sometimes at the center of this political pantomime. It is an integral part of the play. At the same time, in-house contestation may be, in-house contestation among Calypsonians has never waned. The severest political flagellants, chalk dust, watchman, sugar aloes, crow crow, may at one time or another turn upon each other. Crow crow versus chalk dust, when the latter was director of culture and as such forced to adopt a pro-establishment stand. Chalk dust and others versus Gypsy, Little Black Boy, well, I don't think that's the one, The Sinking Ship, or Ember and GB. Crow Crow's parody of Gypsy Sinking Ship. Pink Panthers, Brother Pink Panthers laughing in the ghetto, a deflating parody of Singing Sandra's Voices from the Ghetto. The responses, a dozen or more of them. 16, my friend Louis Regis told me, to Brother Marvin's Jahaji Bai. The several replies to Gypsy's Little Black Boy. The in-house calypso stage is never devoid of fierce controversy. There was a controversy in 2006 over the 2 co-elections, all of these things. Then there is political intrusion on the calypso stage. The nature of the play between political establishments, regimes in office, and the Calypsonian, a self-appointed conscience of the masses. This relationship is as complex as any other on the grand stage. The relationship varies considerably according to the players involved on the sides of both politics and kaiso. We've long moved from the days of Attila and Tiger, when the protagonists' roles were clear. One was either an unambiguous pro-British colonialist or a TNT nationalist with the people's interest at heart. This issue was complicated by the emergence of the PNM and the intensification of the nationalist cause and discourse. After independence, the political establishment and the Nationalist Party were one and the same. The patron-client drama replaced the simple drama of anti-establishment protest of the late Crown Colony period. Calypso protest remained, but its nature had all but changed. Sparrow's No Doctor No and Pay As You Earn were ultimately both aimed towards reconciling the public to this new phenomenon of taxation. Some commentators have seen even his Get the Hell Out of Here as a celebration of Williams's omnipotence and arrogance, rather than as a satire of a growing dictatorship. But things would begin to turn by 1967-68 with the advent of chalk dust and a younger and quite irreverent voice. Chalk dust would write his own private drama in which he and Dr. Williams star as irreconcilable and seemingly eternal antagonists, something like Sherlock Holmes versus Dr. Moriarty. This piece of theater collapsed with the death of Williams, though Chalk dust managed to sustain his role as an anti-establishment singer, targeting the Chambers regime, technocrats working for the government, the French Creoles, petty bourgeois political leadership in a calypso like We Kinda Leader, and the paralyzed and fractious NAR regime in Chauffeur Wanted, The Driver Cannot Drive. In the decade after Dr. Williams died, he nevertheless found it necessary to invoke the ghost of Dr. Williams from time to time, like Eric Williams really did. Recession, squandermania, corruption, I have these three words here, meaning that they were special, probably, themes on the stage. Calypso and the post-UNC period, 1995 to 2002, there was the emergence of a new wave of hard criticism, what one might call sledgehammer picong from Watchmen. Allows was a pro-PNM apologist, using words like, he said he used words like chopping beef. He was a butcher by profession. And he's saying his use of language was like when he was chopping a piece of beef. There was a drama of the Calypsonian versus the Prime Minister. Allows himself wrote that text. And the Prime Minister, of course, jumped into the brew by answering him. Crocro sang as a pro-Afro-Trinidadian apologist whose natural enemies became a character called Shat, and other pro-East Indian apologists like Ramdat Jagasar, he's now abroad, used to be a student of mine, Sham Mohammed, Crocro sang Jagasar tenor, he sang We Ain't Want It. Sham Mohammed had expressed the desire to see an Indian Prime Minister, and then Hulsi Bagan, Respect the Law. Hulsi had said that all the rapes taking place in Central were being done by Afro-Trinidadians. Then Stalin, an older vintage, he sang as a nationalist, put country first, we can make it if we try. Watchman was the roughest in this period. Before that period, of course, there was the NAR period, where like every Calypsonian was against Mr. Robinson. I think it was the roughest period that I have known in Calypso. Calypso has been quite rough. And many other singers emerged, singing Sandra, Lady B, Luther, GB, Gypsy, Kurt Allen, Hollis Wright, Chalk Dust again, Shadow. Shadow sang a wonderful calypso called The Truth, where the truth has a case, but the truth is undermined by money. Money killed the truth. Wonderful calypso. Raz Shorty Eye, Rudder, of course, Ella Andal, Dilamo, Short Pants, Ember. There are very many players on the stage, and there are very many texts, scores of them. Now, I just want to end by saying a word about what I call the corporate theater. the role that is played by the business community, I guess, on the stage. The presence of the business class on the political stage would become enormous and obvious into the mid-90s with the emergence of the UNC at center stage. By the 2000 and 2001 elections, key party financiers such as Lawrence Dupree of CL Financial, Jack Warner, the football czar of FIFA Financial, would become both visible and audible on the UNC stage, while businessmen Brian Quaitong, Gerard Yet Ming, Carlos John, Lindsay Gillette would all serve as cabinet ministers. Quaitong, indeed, who had earlier served as finance minister for 3 years of the 1991-1995 Manning New PN regime, would reappear on the UNC stage 1995 to 2000, disappear from it in 2000 to reappear as chairman of the troubled National Carnival Commission in 2001, literally illustrating the connection that this paper has been arguing exists between carnival, mass, politics, CAISO, and everything like that in Trinidad and Tobago. Jack Warner, UNC party financier and promoter of football, has also been patron of the Aruca Carnival competition and reputed paymaster of partisan UNC Calypsonians, while Roy Augustus, losing UNC candidate in the 2000 and 2001 elections and junior minister of education via disputed appointment to the Senate in 2001, had also been an NCC chairman. Carlos Jones, road to political prominence, had been paved by chairmanship of both TIDCO and the NCC in 1999. If politics was carnivalesque, carnival was political. The two stages overlapped. What Pandey used to term the parasitic oligarchy of businessmen and wealthy professionals then occupies center stage in current politics. Lawrence Dupree, chairman of CL Financial, when questioned by the media about whether his company had funded UNC's 2000 campaign and paid for the services of former university President Bill Clinton's political advisor, James Carville, while not admitting openly to having paid any of Carville's substantial fee, offered this rationale for the involvement of big businessmen in political campaign financing. He said political parties in a democracy must be funded, and we, the corporate sector, must fund them, or they get funds from the wrong sources, and they would be asked to do things that would test their integrity, so that in any democracy people fund the political parties, and we would fund all parties. I don't have anything to hide. I don't have anything to hide. The corporate sector is, by this explanation, deeply involved in what is taking place on what we have been calling the stage. The corporate sector, virtually a parallel universe whose occupants utter a different rhetoric, perform a different script, and hop, skip, and jump to a different drum from the soca rhythms that animate Valentino's bare-assed mass of class on the carnivalesque political stage. Paradoxically, this corporate sector finances and directs the whole wild, sorry show. Businessmen view politics as an unruly imp in their dragon band that they need to control, manipulate, and bring to heel, lest other and less desirable sorcerers get hold of him. Politicians view the corporate sector as a source of party finance and a provider of marginal social services to beleaguered communities, as well as substantial patronage that sweetens the normally acerb environment of politics. Businessmen, Dupree's statement notwithstanding, view politicians as their means towards profitable contracts, as preferentially accessible avenues into the public purse. Thus, these two quite different masquerades invade each other's space and overlap on the stage to the point that at times their masks are indistinguishable one from the other. Okay, I'll have to end here. I think I saw in the distance a kind of blur. This doesn't, of course, I haven't, of course, spoken about calypso and dance hall, but that is another part of the stage too. Okay.